So we're here today at MHA Foundation offices, and it's great to have you. I'm Jennifer Smith, obviously, you know me. Roy Sandoval, tell me about yourself.
I am the Gila County School Superintendent.
Fantastic. What does that mean to
What
me
does that
as
mean?
a citizen?
It means you're an elected official, number one, elected by constituents in Globe. It means that you
Globe
are...
only?
Constituents in Gila County.
Okay.
So you represent those people. It's very different than a superintendent at the district level.
Okay.
You're at the 30,000 foot level, and you're monitoring different things, including finances
Sure.
for the 8 districts that are there. You're also overseeing the elections for board members, appointing board members. When
at the local level.
Their openings.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, when people resign and so forth.
Okay.
Including the college board.
Okay.
You're overseeing like the adult education program and in some cases preschool programs. And you have an educational service agency that gives help to schools when they need it.
Okay. Was that like special ed services or special programs?
You say special programs or if they need support in areas.
Okay.
So it's just very different than being at the district level. And I think it's great because the legislature in their wisdom put local schools under local governing boards.
Excellent.
And they operate under their set of statutes. And then the county superintendent operates under a different set of statutes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so you're not, people tend to think in terms of hierarchy, like, the superintendent's the boss of all the principals, and so if you're the county superintendent, you must be the boss of all the
boss of the
superintendents.
boss.
But you're really not that, and in some ways, that's a great thing, because those things need to be left to the local school board.
Sure, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. So would you say the vast majority of your funding goes to things like the special programs and that type of thing?
Yeah,
Or-
and for me, a lot of things are covered with the local school districts because most of the money goes to local school districts. So I put a huge amount of money into the adult education program because so many people need a second chance.
Yeah.
They didn't make it through, they did not get a diploma, and they realized they can do some other things. So to run that program on both sides of the county and as well in the San Carlos Detention Center,
Oh, okay.
it costs a lot of money, and
Yeah.
it is not funded on an ADM basis like public schools.
Okay.
So I always like to say I beg, borrow, and steal to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. So from your position, our main goal here in this conversation today is really to talk up the Payson Unified School District.
Absolutely.
And the amazing progress that's been made in our high school in particular. I really wanted to take it from, like you said, your 30,000 foot view level. You see all of these internal workings of the school and how hard it is to go from one position to a higher position as far as achievements are concerned. You fully understand that because in your background, you have been at the school level as well, correct?
Absolutely. Well, I was a principal at Payson High School.
Right.
At one time. And so part of, in my other life also, I consult. So I work with high schools all over New Mexico and Arizona, and at middle schools and elementary schools. And I can tell you, people don't realize it, but the high school is a crown jewel of most communities, and it's also the most difficult to handle and the most difficult in terms of trying to raise student achievement or raise any type of data point.
Yeah.
The high school is the biggest challenge.
Yeah, it makes sense because the kids are, further in through their development. So you have to continue to work in a more developed situation. So.
And it's multifaceted because you have the sports going on, you have the clubs going on, you have to work with, all of a sudden you have graduation rates, right?
Sure.
So every class counts. Kids only have 24 or 28 opportunities to earn their credits. So everything is high stakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
school.
That makes sense.
And at that age, you also don't have necessarily a population that is as compliant.
Imagine that.
At that age.
I
We all
have 2
know that.
teenagers at home right now.
Yeah,
so
okay. So,
I 100% get that.
Throw that into the mix as well.
Yes, absolutely. So, in your perspective, again, from a high level view, what did it take for Payson High School to achieve its A+ rating?
Yeah, it took a tremendous amount of cooperation and organization, people working together to tease out all the information that they ask for.
Sure.
And if you look online at all the questions they ask and what is expected in the narratives, the information you have to provide, it is huge,
Yeah.
tremendous. So it speaks a great deal toward Payson High School as an organization being able to break up into writing teams and address these issues and address them in the depth that is going to be meaningful to a reader, because it is competitive. There were only 2 rural high schools in Arizona that received this A+ rating.
Only 2. So
Only 2
Payson-
rural high schools.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it speaks to, I mean, think of all the other high schools that didn't apply.
Yeah.
They looked at it and they went, wow, we can't even do this.
Right.
And then all the high schools that did apply that were not chosen.
The amount of tenacity it took to get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what does it mean? You see an A+ high school. What does that mean? What does that translate into as far as its function and how it is achieving?
Well, what it is you can be assured that high school is running efficiently, it's running effectively. You can be sure that it has good leadership, and it probably has good leadership not just at the high school but at the district level as well. It probably has really good instructional leadership, probably has a strong teaching staff, and it probably has a really good climate and culture that is committed. And I don't mean everybody bringing their lunch and having barbecues for
Right.
culture. I'm saying a culture of learning
Yeah.
and a culture where school is important.
So what types of actual benchmarks did they have to achieve or write about, or
Oh my goodness.
what can you give us a little bit of an idea? Because those of us who are outside of it, it's a little bit not only confusing with the A rating that they just got and the A+ rating. It's what a terrible problem to have. But what does this say? I mean, it says that leadership is good. Is it also talking about scores, student achievement, and that type of thing?
So there's one section that is all just on data. It focuses on the data, and it focuses whether it's student achievement data, whether it's growth data, whether it is attendance data. So they have to consolidate all these data points that are significant and put them into 2 pages.
Sure, yeah.
So in order to do that, you really have to think through and really know what the data says. So that idea that the school, unless a school is data driven, right?
Right.
They're not going to be able to do that.
Right.
But another entire section on instructional leadership and how teachers monitor themselves, how they're being monitored, how they look at their own instruction from a critical standpoint. There's a whole section on that, and they ask in-depth question.
So I'm just wondering what you would expect next. What would be next steps? It seems as though they've reached the ceiling, but I would imagine that it's not a ceiling. I would imagine it's just another platform for them to springboard off of.
Well, I think it's really important to use this because everybody in a local school district knows the warts of their own school, and yet they're also very protective of their own school. You know, Payson High School has a ways to go in terms of student achievement and student growth. They can still work on raising that student achievement so that even more kids are taking dual credit courses and that they show more growth in their students. So to me, what it does is it lifts the bar for everybody.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, there's another effect that I think is really important. We call it a shadow effect, if you will, is that it's going to give incentive to the middle school or one of the elementary schools to apply for this A+ program, to strive. So anytime somebody hits a high bar, right? They make the jump and they hit the high bar.
Sure.
There's a certain vacuum effect for the entire district, and it gives everybody something to aspire to.
That's a great word, considering that
like
the
that word. I
Aspire
knew you'd like
Arizona
that word.
Foundation and supports the dual enrollment. So next year, will they have to completely reapply again?
3 years.
Oh, it's 3 years.
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it's
Okay.
3 years.
All right. And what about the A rating? Is that the same? Do they have to reapply for that as well? Or is that an ongoing state level?
Yeah, every year the state goes through the data
Uh-huh.
and they rate the schools. So
Gotcha.
that is by the state
Okay.
based on certain criteria. But I think there are like 15 different data points that they go
Sure.
through.
Yeah.
So they can receive an A rating from the state every year. And everybody has to face that. And by the way, that is no small task either, because I can tell you that very few rural schools, rural high schools, comprehensive high schools, get an A rating by the state.
Outstanding.
It's
Yeah.
a great accomplishment.
We are so blessed, and I know that they have had to, our leadership has had to really work very hard to make the changes that they have made. It is not an easy task by any means. So really grateful for that, grateful for you and for the time that you've taken to come here and join us and help explain to the public exactly what this means.
Well, thanks
So,
for the invitation. It
You're
was
very
a
welcome.
real honor to be here.